Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday to you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Big waves. Good to see you. So let us know where you're tuning in from this morning. Um, all across the land. If you're coming in on Facebook or the recording, let us know in the comments and the chats where you're tuning in from. And our word for today, it's actually two words, but it's plug in. Plug in. And I want you to plug in tomorrow because we got a guest coming to you tomorrow. And he has coached for years and years and years. Okay. Now, I don't want to make him sound too old, but he has been around the block a time or two. And so I'm excited for him to come on. He actually uh, looks in from time to time on the coach's corner. And so I can't wait to have him on and share with you. One of my favorite people. So the word plug in, or the words this morning, and how valuable is that? Let me ask you a question. And it has no, remember, we talk about this. So if you're new to this, we pick a word each morning, Monday through Friday, and we elaborate on it. And a lot of people, I get a lot of credit for the coach's corner. But if you think about it, none of this is me. It's just me learning, or Andrea, or Myra, or a guest taking a word and elaborating on it for 10 to 15 minutes with you every morning. So it's learning with the intent to teach and share with others, which is really what makes our world go round and round if you think about it. And plugging in. So my question to you is, how many of you would agree, maybe in the comments or the chats you could say this, but how many of you would agree that your morning just seems to flow better when you plug in to a community like this? I know mine does. When I'm out and I have to walk away from the coach's corner and not be on, my day just seems to be a little bit more choppy. You know, it's kind of the same thing plugging in to self development, or plugging into a great means to your headspace to start your day. Never fails. When I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and maybe you don't have to do the morning thing, but when I get up early and I get into my audio and I start to listen, my day flows so much better. So remember that as I end today with my part, because I've got a quote for you that I really believe plug in really is the reason that we have to plug in. So plug in, connect to a power supply. Hopefully, if we're plugging into something, it is offering a power source. There's enthusiasm, there's energy, there's emotion, there's community, there's happiness. Hopefully, all of that is a source that we want to plug into. It's a power supply for us. Closely connected, in touch with what's going on, informed or involved. When you are plugged in, that's the way you feel. You're closely connected, right? Just go stick your finger in a light socket this morning. No, don't. But if you did, you would feel how closely connected you was to electricity. Okay, it would not be a great experience, but that's what a power supply is. That's what plugging in does. And why is it? Why is being plugged in so important? That's what I want my part to be this morning. I think we would all agree, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not somebody that I want. I hope that I'm more positive than I am a negative person. But I think we could all agree that since the beginning of time, it's been ordained since the beginning of time that there's going to be negative, right? How would we even know what positive felt like if there weren't negative, right? How would we know what smiling and laughter feels like, and happiness, if there wasn't sadness? Jim Rohn talks about that a lot. Well, the same's true in the world. There's a lot of negative in our world. It's a place of where you can find negativity a lot. But staying close to a power source will help keep your head on straight. It'll help keep you plugged and moving in the right direction. And so I have to remind myself that a lot. You know, we're the sum of the 5 people we hang around the most. And there's times that when I hang around people, even people I love, I go, are they a person that on a daily basis I'm having to fight negativity? Like, do they wake up more negative than they do positive? And if the answer is yes, then I've got to distance myself, even if they're people I love. I got to distance myself into something that is providing and plugging into positivity, because if I'm looking for negative in the world, I can find it in so many corners right now. But it actually has been that way since the beginning of time. Number 2, businesses are constantly changing and evolving. How many of you would agree with that? I want to tell you, I know this is scary, but I used to be a computer programmer. I don't know if you know that. Maybe I hadn't told you that before, but that's a scary thought of me on a computer programming. But I used to do that. Now I'm terrible at sitting down for a long period of time. So that occupation was not very good for me. But here's the thing, I'm not plugged into that occupation anymore. So although I might know the theory of programming, I don't know the details to get it done today. So businesses are constantly changing and evolving. Think about this in your business, and I hope I can shed light on this. How many of you are the type, I know I do this all the time, well, this is the way I've been doing it. Let me tell you, listen, I've been doing it this way for 10 years, and I've been able to create a lot from that. How many of you said that before? Well, I know this way, and I know this way works. But am I plugged in to an evolving, a changing marketplace for my business? Because the world's evolving, change is happening. So I've got to be plugged in and open minded enough to go, you know what, I at least need to think about the changes that are going on and plug myself into it. And if I don't, I'll get left behind. I think about my grandfather. If I would have told my grandfather, and I loved him, he was one of my best friends in the world. If I would have told him that he was going to have to use a credit card and give away his number that would go to his bank account or something like that, that people could somehow get his information, he would have thought, son, what are you taught? A credit card? No, I'm not using anything that would do that. But as time has moved on, how many of us today buy online, give our credit card, and it would be a foreign thing for my grandfather to look at and see today? But it's happening. It changed. It evolved. So being plugged in your business to a power source, to see the change, to see the evolution, is so important. And the last thing is, and I'm over my time, I'm sorry, Andrea, good gracious. Being plugged into a source, you feel the power of people. I say this a lot, but if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together with people, because people, there's a power behind people. There's a power behind getting together. There's an energy source. And that's why you got to plug into it, whether it's the Coach's Corner or other things in your business or other things in your personal relationships. You got to plug in. You got to feel the community, because here's the reason. One of the most major keys to staying consistent, whether it's your health, whether it's your finances, whether it's your spirituality, whether it's your relationships, the major key to staying consistent is having community to plug into. It's the power source. So Andrea, I'm going to turn it to you.
I guess I have to unmute. So thank you so much for that, Coach. That was great. And I'm going to talk about how to plug in. So, how can we plug in? And I'm going to focus on a few different areas. The first one is with your ultimate power source. And what I saw is you cannot be a light in the world unless you're plugged into the source, right? So, for me, that looks like Jesus, right? For you, it might look differently. But so what do I need to do? I need to do my daily Bible study, right? I need to crack open that book. Hill and Diane gave me a beautiful one. I need to read the verses. I need to highlight them. I need to make it part of who I am. I need to plug in, pray, listen to worship music, plug into the church and the church community, right? So that's the ultimate power source, right? Whatever that looks like for you. And then at work, show up and keep showing up, right? For a Zoom, and this can be a hard one, I know I'm guilty, but turn on your camera, right? Are you plugged in if you're not giving feedback? And how do you give feedback when you're muted? You smile, you nod, right? Like you are interacting with everybody. Be on the calls and participate. Go to the events, comment in the groups, listen and offer feedback, right? All of that allows us to plug in and be a part of that community at work and then with others. And I say focus on connecting. And, this is, probably one of the most embarrassing things for me to admit, but I think it's one of the most powerful is I literally schedule 15 minutes a day for each of my children for eyeball time. And we're around each other all the time, especially now. Like they're home, I work from home, they homeschool. Like we can be in each other's presence all the time, but we're spinning like this instead of spinning together. So having that eyeball time where I know you are my friend, you are my person, you're my whatever. I want that eyeball time. I'm going to focus on plugging in with you and having that connection time. Actively listen. What are their interests? Let's do that, right? Maybe not just what mom wants to do. Let's do what interests the other person. And then with yourself. And I think this one is a doozy because we live our whole lives with ourselves, so we can just not really pay a whole lot of attention. But how in tune are you really with yourself, with your values of what drives you to strive for more? Like, have you really sat down? I know with a lot of us, we're kind of in the same industry and people talk about your why a lot, but have you really sat down and, flesh that out? What does it look like? Why are you getting up and going to work every day? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So plug in and know all those things, because the more you know about yourself, the happier and more successful you'll be. And then I'm going to close with, I think I talk about this every day, but are you plugged in with gratitude? Right? I have the pleasure of working on this journal, and today all I wrote about were things that I'm grateful for. And I'll tell you, it changes your whole attitude for the day. And it's something that you can tap into to find joy every single moment. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. Can't wait for our special guest tomorrow. I know it's going to be a great one.
Absolutely, Andrea. Thanks for always being there, always helping. Thanks for the message. And yes, special guest tomorrow. And then on Friday, Coach Myra Miles will be back with us. She's been down a little bit, but I talked to her yesterday and she said her health's coming back. So big shout out and praise for that. And I want to leave with this. Okay. Last thing I want to say, because Andrea touched on it. It's being present. One of the things that I was on a Zoom just the other day about Zooms, right? And something that's happened since, this COVID and everybody moving to more of now we're getting back in person, and that's awesome. A lot of us are going to Utah inside of this community very soon. But one of the things that I really appreciate about this group, and I know not everybody can turn on their camera, but I think about Vince Green. No matter where he's at, if he's headed in to the office, or he's sitting there, or wherever he's at, he's always tuned in. And John and Dr. Bob and Jenny and Arlene. I mean, I can go around the room, and I'll tell you this: you just feel like you know people better when you can see them. And I guess that's the biggest love that I have for the profession I'm in, is it's a belly to belly type business. And it's not, you don't just know people on the outside, just their kind of their business personality. In our business, in our profession, you got to learn the inside of them. You got to learn their dogs, their kids. You got to learn some detail about them, and that's what makes it so special. So I hope we all have those connections, right, Dr. Bob? That's what makes life go around and around. And I'm super grateful for this community. I love you each and every day. I'm just blown away that we started this over, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Or more, but I'm excited to see where it leads us. So guys, we love you. Have a great Wednesday. Happy hump day. We'll see you back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a blessed day.
Have a
Thanks,
great
Brent. Thanks,
day.
Andrea. Great job.
Before
Good
you
to see
love you.
everybody.
Thank